The Earth's magnetic North Pole is on the move, and it's happening faster than ever before. Once steady over Canada, it is now racing towards Siberia in Russia. This next report explains how this fascinating natural phenomenon could disrupt navigation systems worldwide, from GPS apps on your phone to the critical tools guiding aeroplanes and even ships.
So it sounds like something out of a science fiction movie, the shifting of the Earth's magnetic poles causing changes to our everyday lives. But what exactly is the magnetic North Pole, and how does it affect us?
We actually have two North Poles. We have the geographic North Pole, which is the axis on which the Earth is spinning and rotating, and that stays in the same place. But what people are talking about these days is the magnetic North Pole, and this is what we are taught is the location that a compass would point to.
The problem is the North Magnetic Pole has always had a hard time staying in one place. In fact, it was moving at the rate of 10 to 15 kilometers per year from the Canadian Arctic towards Siberia. Then in the 1990s, it started going 4 times as fast.
I find it spectacular that, the speed increased that much in such a short period of time.
NASA says the North Pole is actually moving.
That's right. Scientists say the Earth's magnetic North Pole is shifting. Compasses use polar points to help correct navigation systems.
What about this business about the North Pole shifting? And it goes, as I understand, as much as about 40 miles toward Russia. Am I correct in that?
Yes, I mean, the North Magnetic Pole is heading towards the North Pole. Actually, it means that your compasses are more accurate than they were 30, 40 years ago. So in one sense, that's a good thing. But yeah, it's continuing to move. And that's always a sign that you might be heading towards a reversal.
Imagine an invisible force guiding migratory birds across continents, helping sea turtles return to their nesting grounds and steering ships safely through the seas. This is Earth's magnetic field, and its North Pole is not where it used to be. Over the years, the magnetic North Pole, once firmly rooted in Canada, has now started to drift, now racing towards Siberia in Russia. But why does this matter? Because this silent shift could throw modern navigation systems into a chaos. This shift demands an urgent recalibration of global navigation systems, as even small inaccuracies could lead planes off course or ships astray. As molten metals flow between them, the magnetic field shifts, dragging the North Pole along. The implications are profound. Earth's magnetic field is not static, it waxes and wanes. And every 3,000 years or so, the poles even reverse. While a complete reversal is not imminent, the rapid movement of the North Pole highlights the dynamic, ever-changing nature of our planet's magnetic shield. This shift is a reminder that even the forces we cannot see shape our lives in ways we're only beginning to understand.
In February, scientists released an emergency update to the world magnetic model that aids global navigation. And over time, airports have had to rename runways that were named for their magnetic heading.
They've all had to renumber the runways because it's changed that much.
The polar drift has even led to speculation that a weakening magnetic field might lead the north and south magnetic poles to flip spots, which last happened 780,000 years ago. No signs of that just yet.
I don't think there is any reason for particular concern.
Adam says Earth's magnetic field is constantly being created.
The inside of the Earth has an iron core, and it has a solid part and a liquid part, and they're moving. And it's that movement of the iron inside the Earth that is creating our pole, our magnetic field.
And with this continuous creation, it's also causing them to constantly move.
It turns out that these motions inside the Earth, they're fairly chaotic, and there are a lot of different factors going on and factoring into this. So it's not as orderly as like a pot of boiling water convecting. And so that convection pattern changes with time. And as the pattern of convection inside the Earth changes, what we see at the surface is our magnetic field changing.
And you said this is one of the unique characteristics of why the Earth is so important. Tell us about it.
Well, Earth has a strong dipole magnetic field, and that prevents water from being lost from the Earth, also protects us from the deadly radiation from both the sun and cosmic rays. And these reversals that we've been hearing about, they've happened several hundred times in the past 500 million years of Earth's history. And we already have a pretty good idea what's going to happen during reversal. It'll be similar to what happened in 1859 when we got hit by a big solar flare. I mean, the magnetic field weakens, but there was a paper published by a Harvard astronomer just a couple of weeks ago making the point that as long as these reversals are short-lived, it does no damage to life on Earth or to our water loss. And we've survived several hundred in the past, but it will have significant consequences for our high-technology civilization. I mean, for example, something similar to what happened in 1859 would happen today. It would probably knock out several GPS satellites, and it would definitely disrupt communications. The biggest consequence is the damage it could do to our electric power grids. And so I think it would be wise, in view of the fact that we know this is going to happen in the relatively near future, to take steps to protect the world's power grids. That will cost a few $1 billion, but that's a whole lot less than experiencing a shutdown of our electric power grids for months or years.
Well, you mentioned about the desiccation thing. If it's really severe, if we lose the magnetic field, that we would be subject to solar flares that could dry up our oceans. Could you talk about that?
Well, again, as long as if we lose our magnetic field for a significant period of time, yeah, it would have catastrophic consequences for animal life on planet Earth. And it's one thing we notice is we got our strong dipole magnetic field just before God created the first animals. I mean, the timing was remarkable. But what this paper from a Harvard astronomer indicates is that as long as the reversal is relatively short-lived, decades or hundreds of years, it's okay for life on planet Earth. However, it's not okay for a high-technology civilization, and it'd definitely be worth our while to spend some money to protect the power grids. I mean, for example, in 1989, there was a solar flare that knocked out the Quebec power grid, and it cost many billions of dollars. And what's happened is the Quebec government has now put in the protective measures. So if that happens again, the power grid stays up. The rest of the world's power grid is not protected. So given that these kinds of events, I mean, we had a solar flare like we did in 1859. Regardless of whether we get a magnetic reversal, we get the same consequence. We now have the research to know what we're going to face when this happens, and we can take appropriate preventive measures to ensure that our high-technology civilization remains intact.
You said that the cost would be a few $1 billion, but the consequences of knocking out a power grid would be in the trillions of dollars. Is Congress doing anything about this?
Well, I think this news of the fact that we may be coming into a magnetic reversal may get attention from the world's governments and say maybe we need to take some steps to prepare. Just like we prepare for fire disasters or flood disasters, this is something that we know is inevitable. I mean, for example, we get solar flares like we got in 1859 every few hundred years, maybe less. So it'd be wise for us to take steps to protect. And the remarkable thing is we're living at the optimal moment in the history of the sun where we get the fewest number of such flares that happened in 1859. So that's a blessing that we're living at the optimal time in the sun's history. Nevertheless, we should build our house on the rock and not on the sand and take steps to prepare.